one of the questions I was for a time on the a part of the 50 million pound challenge, and I've grown up in a family where diabetes is a concern and high blood pressure is a concern. I still have a problem communicating the information and inspiring some of my relatives. Have you, what do you think would really reach the community? What messages would you like people to get from the 50 million pound challenge? I know many people have been reached, but there are still some who aren't part of it yet.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. Trying to find the right message that works for everyone is a very difficult thing. What I've come to realize over the last several years is that different people are touched by different messages, and there is no one magical outreach or strategy to reach everyone. You got to just keep beating the drum and try it one way, then another way, and just keep going after it. That being said, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but I do believe that there's a certain percentage of the population that simply just doesn't want to be reached. And if they don't want to open up to it, you can't force feed them. But I think by and large, the vast majority of people are open to the message. The key is not just delivering the message. The key is, how do you activate them? How do you get them to act on what you're saying? How do you get them to realize that making a few changes could make a big difference, not just now, but down the road? And I think that is what has been our challenge with the 50 million pound challenge. I think by having CVS Pharmacy as a new partner, we're now going to be able to increase our outreach tremendously, number one. But number two, we now will have the type of resources that we need to be able to give people the things that they need. We're doing all kinds of events. Asu Salud is one event that we're going to do. To Your Health is another event. These are different, almost like health fairs that we're going to be doing, more than 800 around the country over the course of the next 24 or 12 months.
Wow.
So I think the key is
right into the communities where people are then.
That's right. And so, you try to deal with them by network interviews, by print interviews, by blog interviews, but you also have to bring it to them. And I think we're trying all different methods.
Your particular initiative here has to do with diabetes. Can you talk to me about the rates which that affects the African American community? I'm from the Caribbean.
Sure.
So I know, it affects the African American community, but then worldwide, it's a black thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. When you look at the numbers, 24 million Americans suffer from type 2 diabetes. 6 million of that 24 million actually have not been diagnosed yet. So they're walking around with diabetes and don't even realize it. When you look at African Americans have almost double the rate of diabetes when compared to Caucasians. Why is that so? One of the major reasons, of course, is obesity. If you look at African American women, almost 4 out of 5 African American women are either overweight or obese. 4 out of 5, that's 80%. So you look at the rates of overweight and obesity. You also look at the types of cuisine that we typically eat. Foods that are high in calories, low nutritional value, a lot of refined sugars, a lot of processed foods. So that doesn't help. But then you also have to look at the activity patterns. One thing that we do know is that those who are most inactive increase their risk dramatically for developing type 2 diabetes. So a lot of these things that you find in the African American and, by the way, the Latino communities have been impacting us in a negative way.
Definitely. Well, that's one of my biggest struggles. It's like I go about things the wrong way, and I'm aware that I do it. It's like I try to improve my diet. I try to drink a lot of water. I try to start eating salads and eating more fish. But then there's the sedentary life. And I am a blogger. I am a writer. My life is at a computer screen.
Sure.
What are some of the first steps you would recommend for somebody like me to start really getting into it, somebody who's always been inactive?
Sure. Even if your career is one of a sedentary nature, it doesn't prevent you from getting up for lunch break and walking a mile, even if it's a slow mile. But it's the first thing to do, I tell everyone, is just to get moving. If you get moving, it almost becomes an addiction. You want to walk a little faster, you want to walk a little longer. And then when you start seeing results, not just results on the scale, but when you see results in your energy level, when you see your endurance is increasing, then people really, really get into the program. And so the first thing I say is just start off by walking. The second thing I say is increase the amount of water that you're drinking, decrease the amount of alcohol and other high-calorie, high-sweetened drinks that you may be consuming, but also increase your amounts of fruits and vegetables. You should be eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And
Right.
just making those changes right there will go a long way, not only in helping you lose weight, but also preventing or controlling your diabetes.
Right. I know that's a big deal in particularly impoverished African American communities where sometimes there's not a grocery store in your neighborhood where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to people who are in those situations?
Well, of course, we call those food deserts. And food deserts
Right.
are situations in which, for miles around a particular center, for miles around that center, there are not freshly available and healthy foods. What I recommend to people is, listen, you can't solve that situation overnight. You can't put a gun to the head of an owner of a healthy food store and make them set up shop in your neighborhood. But
Right.
you can, create your own farmer markets. So, your farmers markets, bring those to your neighborhoods. Create more organic or healthy gardening in your neighborhood. But more importantly, listen, if it's not there, go into the community where it is to get these fruits and vegetables that you need. We go to other communities to buy expensive handbags and to buy expensive cars, do we not? Well, then we can go to other communities to buy these things that we need for the best sustenance for our bodies.
That is so very true, and you've made a very valid point there. Now, I know there's different statistics about the amount of exercise that's recommended per day. Some people will say half hour. Some people I heard recently 20 minutes and muscle confusion and all of this stuff that's bombarding us in the media. What is your personal recommendation of the amount of exercise we should get per week, let's say?
My personal recommendation is that, ultimately speaking, maybe not from the beginning, because you should work your way up, especially if you've been inactive. Don't just jump into it. Slowly build your way up. But at the end of the day, I would love for people to get 4 days a week, 45 minutes per session. That's the ultimate. However, if you started off doing it every other day, maybe about 3 days a week for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then every 2 weeks, increase what you're doing by 10%, that can make a big difference.
Okay. My site is particularly dedicated to African American women who, take an interest in their hair and their beauty, and often it's a surface thing,
Yeah.
which, it's so easy to shellac on some makeup and to put on a beautiful outfit and take one of those expensive purses you alluded to earlier and go out and feel beautiful without truly taking care of the internal. If you could say any one thing to the readers of my blog who are these women, what would be your best advice?
My best advice is, it is great to want to be beautiful. And by all means, you should do what it takes to be beautiful. But I would also say that understand what happiness really is. I wrote this new book called Happy, Simple Steps to Get the Most Out of Life. And what I address in this book is, how can we control our own happiness and not allow others control it? We have tough times right now. People are dealing with economic problems. The wars are going on. People are having relationship issues. So I tell people to focus on those things that bring them happiness that they can control. Not the kind of car you drive, not the handbag you drive, not the person who likes you or is willing to ask you out for a date. That's not what brings happiness. What brings happiness are deeds and things that you do by your own hand. And so the book, my new book, Happy, goes into that. I would also say to the women that, hey, listen, your hair is your hair, and there's no doubt about it, you want it to look the best always. But don't let that be a preventive measure from you going out and exercising, because a lot of women will say, I don't exercise because it ruins my hair and I just can't get it together for work. Listen, there's got to be a compromise. And so either exercise at night or exercise early enough in the morning where you can do something, but we cannot continue to allow what I call the hair excuse to stop us from exercising, though I am sensitive to it being an issue, but we still have to find ways around it.
Definitely. Well, so much for everything. I got great information about your book and this new initiative. I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your time.
And let me give you the website. Please come to our websites, 50millionpounds.com, and go to cvs.com/diabetes and use all the great free resources we have to not only prevent diabetes, but also manage it if you have it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Ian.
Nice talking to you.
Take care.